Hello and a very warm welcome to the next episode of The Joy of Basing with me, Matt Cexwish. Today in the Basing Essentials we will be learning everything that is needed to properly cut, glue and file things in miniature projects. So here you can see a small overview on all of the tools that we will need to have to prepare three different types of miniatures. These are actually the most common problems that you will have to solve when you want to prepare a miniature for painting. So one will be preparing a miniature that is in a plastic sprue. Looks like that here. In this case it's some Kingdom Death survivors made of plastic. Second one will be, for example, a bust like this one here, where we have a base and the bust itself, and we will like to attach that to the plinth here, so it will look better in the showcase. And last but not least, we will prepare a miniature that is made of white metal, like this one here, where we have to pin the parts because they are actually a little bit like heavy. So yeah, we have to secure them somehow. Okay, so first for the most common part, the Kingdom Death plastic sprue miniatures here. For this we will need to have some very sharp pliers. These side cutters here that I'm using, and they're actually from Swann, and you can see like they are very sharp, extremely sharp, and very good. I'm actually using three different types of side cutters. So these here are the ones that I use for plastic models. They are very sharp, like nearly like a scissor, so they will cut through anything, but the edge of the blade is actually still a little bit sensitive, so it will chip when we clip something too hard, like hard steel with this. For white metal miniatures, I have some clippers that are a little bit more sturdy. These here I think are from Games Workshop. So yeah, actually they can not really hold an edge for a long time, but they will stay sharp enough to really cut through the white metal, which is rather soft. And then last but not least, I have these clippers here, which are like low-cost clippers. They are actually very worn, but this is something that is not so bad for certain applications, as you can see with some of my videos so far. For example, if you want to have some create something like a chipped off wood, clippers like that with little imperfections are actually not that bad. Yeah, but for now we will be using these very sharp clippers here, and what we will do is we will just very quickly go in here and clip all of these plastic supports up here, so we can remove the miniature really quickly like this. I will go on and do the same for all of the other parts here, and then we'll be right back. And actually we will zoom a little bit so you can see better what we are doing here. Okay, once we are done with removing all of the parts that belong to the miniature, you will have to get rid of all of these mold lines that you can still see running over the whole model. For removing these lines we will use a hobby knife, like this one here. This here is actually my favorite one. It's from Swann Morton, and it actually is just a holder for the blades, which are really sharp and really good. And it is a retractable knife, which is very practical because the blade is not in the way and you don't need to put any cap or something on your knife. Yeah, it's just ready when you need to use it and springs out like that. Really practical. Also, the really great thing is that you can switch the blades here very easily and put in, for example, more fine blades like this one here, which I think is a number 10. Or even bigger blades like this, number 11, or curved blades, yeah, whatever you would like to have. So for now, I think I will swap this on. Oh no, it's actually the number 15A into the holder here. And yeah, with this we will then go down the miniature and try to find these little imperfections or like gates that has been used to inject the plastic into, and we will just remove them like that. Don't apply too much pressure, really take your time. You have a very sharp blade, so let the blade do the most of the work for you. It is also advisable not to cut towards yourself, but always away from your body, like this for example here. And don't use too much pressure really. Also, the good thing about this knife here is that even if I cut something like this here, the blade will not catch my finger, so to say. It will rather just be stopped by my thumb here and not cut me like that. Alright, and for the mold lines you can use the side, so to say, of your blade and just scrape really gently upwards like that along the flash line here, the mold line. And some people also use the back side of the blade. It's more blunt, but it will also get rid of these lines here. Really easily. So yeah, I will do the same for all of the parts that we have here, and we'll be back in a second when it comes to gluing these together. Okay, now that all the parts are cleaned, it is good to test out if all the parts that we need are here, and if we like the pose or if we have to change something. So for this we will be using this here. It's actually some blue tack. Blue tack is something that is very useful to hold things in place temporarily. It's similar to plastilin, but it doesn't leave any residue on the miniature, so yeah, it's just perfect for this. So you can see here, just drop in a small little blob of the blue tack, and then you press the part in, so you can really see how the part will look like when we glue it in here. And we can continue to do this also for the other parts of the miniature. Just add some tiny little drops and then take the part and just put it in place like that to see how it will fit, and if we would like to have that. It sounds like something a little bit redundant, but especially if you have multi-part plastic kits, it's a very good thing to really see if you like the dynamics and the pose of the whole miniature before applying any glue that would make that actually permanent. So yeah, that looks good. Once we're done with this, we can carefully remove the blue tack like that. Then we use some tweezers, remove this, and then it's time for the glue. In this case I'm using super glue. I actually use super glue also on plastic kits. Obviously there's also something like plastic glue, for example from Revell or also from Games Workshop, but I think that it's not so necessary. Actually it binds the parts, it really melts them together, and sometimes I think it's good to have some glued parts that can still be repositioned. So with super glue you can really break out the parts when you need to, and with plastic glue it's actually more likely that the whole part will snap on a joint which is weaker than the part that you glued on. It's that strong. So in this case also we are using some thick super glue. In this case it's from Toolcraft, this Rapid 200 here. As you can see here, also the super glue, the thick super glue is very thick indeed. It's like a gel, and this is very good. There's also some not thick super glue, like some more liquidy super glue, which is good for other applications. But putting two parts like that together, it's good to use the thick super glue. And this is actually a cyanoacrylate glue, which is like a chemical that is in there. And this here is some accelerator, super glue accelerator, in German Aktivator. And this turns super glue into really something that glues within seconds. So when I put a little drop on, for example, this super glue blob here, it will react really drastically and cure within seconds. Be very careful because this is not the healthiest stuff. I would recommend using also a mask for this, a respirator. Also sometimes this accelerator here attacks the plastics that you will apply it to. So it's also good to try it out, for example, on the sprue of your miniatures, if it will solve the plastic up. Let's see. Actually, this here looks actually good. So this plastic is more or less safe from the accelerator. So once this is tested, we can apply a little bit directly on here, and this will bind it momentarily. Okay. Yeah, looking good. So I will continue for the upper parts here, and we'll be back once this is done. Okay, once the cure is set, you will be able to sand all of these like remaining surfaces that you can see here that had imperfections with some sanding paper. In this case, that's some very fine sanding paper, I think 1000 grit or so. And yeah, you can very quickly just go down here wherever you have these mold lines, they're a little bit visible, and that will get rid of actually of all of them. So yeah, just take your time, have a good look, and then fold it up together like that, and that way you will be able to reach all of these really little surfaces here, like this. It is also advisable, obviously, to use cutting mat or some other kind of surface, because you will have all small like little chippings here. So if you don't want to tidy that up all the time, put something on here on your desk and you will be good to go. All right. Also with some models like this one here, you can see some gaps like here, and also this here is quite a strange gap that occurred here. To get rid of these, we can use something like milliput and just apply it in here, very carefully, diluted with some water. And afterwards we can use a rubber brush like this one here, and push the milliput in between these surfaces, in between these cracks here. So all of that will be covered up and we'll be good to go to paint that. We are still not done. One thing that a miniature like this still needs is a little pin here, which will then connect to the base, or we will put it on the base then. And in order to do this, we will need a hand drill. Hand drill is something like that. It's a small drill, obviously, and it also comes with a set of drill bits, like here. And that's just perfect for our needs. In this case, it's a little bit less than a millimeter. So I will just choose the right bit here. Then we use this little vise to put it in. Watch out that this is centered, obviously, otherwise you will not be able to drill a consistent hole. And actually the drill bit is a little bit too big, so I choose a little smaller one. Generally everything slightly below a millimeter will fit in the standard drill, in a standard vise of your drill. But you can see that there is a hole already here, which is a little bit problematic, as we want to drill, for example, also a smaller hole. But to bypass that, there is one quite simple trick. All you need to have is a little bit of paper towel, like this one here. We remove a tiny little bit, then we roll, we roll the drill bits, the end side of it, in here. And then we put all of this together inside of our drill. And now it can hold even the very fine drill bits that you can see here, like these that are less than 1 millimeter nearly. This is important when we want to drill something like, for example, acupuncture needles. These acupuncture needles are very, very fine. They are made out of stainless steel, medical steel, so this is the absolute strongest actually connection, and with this you will be able to drill to fix even like the smallest, most filigree parts, not only plastic but also resin. Okay, but now we will drill a little hole in here using our drill bit, hand drill. It's also not advisable to use a Dremel power tool here because the friction would be too big, and if the friction is too big, that would result in melting of this plastic here, which would destroy any hole that we want to put in there. So again, take your time, use a drill bit that is suitable for this operation here, like drilling inside of the leg. Yeah, perfect. Okay, as for the pin, we can use very, very standard paper clip like this one here. Maybe it will be a little bit too big for this hole. Yeah, I think it will be, but I don't know, actually it's going in. So yeah, this is how we do. And then we will just quickly take some of the super glue here and just put it inside of that hole. And then we will take our clippers and clip off the pin at the size that we need, maybe like this. And now we will have a pin that will help us to attach this miniature to a base. And now we want to put the miniature down here in the base, yeah, like that. So in order to do that, we need to drill a little hole here. So we still need to use our little drill, or hand drill, and the same drill bit, obviously. And then again, don't apply too much pressure, just take your time. Okay. And there you go, the miniature is pinned to the base. Usually pinning is good for miniatures that are heavier than this, obviously. Plastic is really not a big problem, even if this miniature comes falling off the base. It's not a big issue, but with metal miniatures like this one here, it's actually a little bit bigger issue because the parts here, they are also quite heavy. So any little force that is applied to that will cause them to fly away. So we will see how we prepare this miniature next. Okay, for your standard white metal miniature, you will need to have a little bit more sturdy tools to clip off all of these supporting pieces here. In this case, I have this this clipper that is not the sharpest tool in the shed, so to say, but it will really do the job as it is intended. So we quickly remove all of these very obvious holders here. Here we have to be careful that we don't damage the blade. Okay, and there's also this little tag here where you usually have the name of the producer on. You can remove that either with your clippers again, like this, or you can use a saw, like a little hacksaw. I have different ones. This here, for example, is quite standard with a blade that can also cut through metals. There are also more fine hacksaws. This here is, for example, a jeweler's hacksaw for people that build jewelry. And it's actually not the smallest blade that you can put in here. There are much finer ones that actually are just like a little string of a saw. And with this you can even remove separate parts. Like, for example, if you want to get rid of for example, the shoulder here or something like that, you will be able to do that with a really fine hacksaw blade. But yeah, for the tag down here, we just take a clipper again. It's not rocket science. And if you can't go to the whole material here with one step, you can also do it more slowly and step by step. Yeah, so let's bend it around a little bit until, yeah, like that. Okay, other than with plastic parts, metal parts are more difficult to work with. This is why we have these files here. I have a set of these files that are suitable for working with metal, and they have different shapes. So this is a straight file. Then we have one that is getting more narrow to the tip here. Then we also have round files like that. With this you can, for example, file holes smoothly and remove everything from there. And then we have also rectangular files like this one here, which is really useful to file inside of a corner, for example. Actually also have a file that has a pyramid shape. This is a triangle. And all these files are really useful. But for this here, we take the flat file. We can also have the the one that goes narrow down here. The reason why I use this is because this one here is a little bit more fine. So I will use this as a second step. And now we will just carefully start to file on this here. Try to maintain a flat surface when you file the things. If you will go like that, it will obviously create a little peak, and this is something that we don't want to have. So yeah, try to, from the side, maybe you can see it better, try to remain very flat, and again, like, take your time. Use the whole length of your file, not only a certain part where you just start to file like crazy, but but run the whole length of your file down the surface here. Until you are happy with the result. You can also take your hobby knife to remove some of the white metal. It is very soft, much softer than the steel of the blade, so you should not have a very difficult time chipping away certain parts, like here. These edges here, you can use your hobby knife. Also, these little ventilation residues here, and also the mold lines. You can really easily remove them with your hobby knife, similar to what we did with the plastic. You can also take the finer file and then try to get rid of these very pointy spikes that are created through the remaining mold lines here. And it's good to just use your fingers and feel if you can feel some very like still pointy tip here. And when you feel one, you can quickly remove that as well. Okay, once you're done with this, I recommend either using some sanding paper. Again, like this is a 600 or 1000 grit sanding paper. With this you can work along where the mold line was, like that. And this is really to get rid of the most dramatic imperfections on your model. And once you're done with that, you can use a little kitchen sponge like this one here. I think in the US this also has some name, and I always forget about it, but it's like the Scotch sponge, right? So I just could cut this off from kitchen sponge, and this is a very great material to give this a really nice buff polish. You can also go over the whole surface with this. It will not damage the details. It will just give the metal like this really nice shine and remove all of the mold lines really carefully. Also prepare the surface nicely for the foundation that we will spray on here. So yeah, just ideal. Okay, we will do the same steps on the other parts as well. I think I will show you one more thing. Here the blade is a little bit problematic because, yeah, this part that was used for the molding process, it is just in the middle of the blade. So when you have something like that, just use your hobby knife and very, very carefully, step by step, start to chip off parts here, away from yourself, obviously. And the further you progress, the smaller the chips should be, because you're getting finer and finer. Okay, and we take the little bit finer file and try to re-sharpen that blade. Try to get rid of that material there. Also one direction towards the point. And here it's good to use the round file here. So you can see that the geometry of your file is really important. So yeah, maybe get yourself like a set, something like that. They're not too expensive, these metal files. Okay. That's it. Nice and really sharp. Okie doke. Next step will be to pin these parts. So yeah, we will be back after I clean up the other parts here. Okay, so here you can see all the clean parts. Takes some time to do it properly, but with a little bit of patience, everything will be just fine. So since these here are white metal parts, it is very important to pin them actually to the miniature. Otherwise these will come flying right off if anything will hit them. So yeah, we would need to have to make this a little bit more sturdy. So for this we will take our power tool here, our Proxon drill, and we will put in like a 1mm drill bit. This for our pin. Okay, and yeah, for example, this arm here, we will pin this down. So yeah, in order to do that, we will have to take a look here how this attaches to the miniature. All right, so the pin needs to be a little bit angled. So can start doing this here. And be careful with drilling into these parts. Hold it very, very tightly. And don't push too much. Just go very, very slowly. So you will see that the part will get very hot. If it gets the part gets too hot, you can also use again some paper towel. Wrap that in here, and you can hold it a little bit longer. Or you can also use something like these pliers here to hold the part through your paper towel like this. Just be careful not to crush the part. This will definitely affect the detail, so just hold it firmly. It's like in a vise, like here. Oops. Okay. Okay, there it is. Nice little hole. Again, we take a paper clip. And it goes right in here. Okay, we clip this using our clippers. Clip should not be too long, the pin, just around maybe 8mm or so when it comes to a part like that. If the part is heavier, you can use a heavier, bigger clip pin. Sorry, you could also use more of them. But now actually comes the tricky part, because we want to to attach that to the arm here in the right angle, right? So one thing that we can do is to put some little tiny blob of color on the tip here, and then press it against the hand so we can see where it attaches. But yeah, when it is something like not so complex like this arm here, you can also just eyeball it. So you can use also the harder metal of the pin to give a little dent inside of this here. So here you can see there is a little hole here. So that will be enough, I think, for now. So yeah, same thing. We drill a little hole. Oh, actually, since this is a sphere, it's actually also advisable to chip it off before we start to drill. That way, the drill would not slip off here, and when we do the hole. And again, go slowly. No need to rush. Okay. Then remove these these little shards here, these little pointy things from the hole. And then we will see if the pin fits in here. Yeah, it does. And the good thing about these pins is that they are still a little bit flexible. So yeah, that will really help us to reposition the arm if needed. So yeah. There it is. The arm is now attached, and yeah, this will not go anywhere. So yeah, nicely done. Okay, I will do the same for the other parts because yeah, still they are out of metal, so they will chip off. And I will put some 2 pins in here, similar to what you saw with the with the plastic miniature. And yeah, this is how you prepare these white metal miniatures. Okay, this is how the miniature looks now. Everything is really nicely in place, and yeah, not going anywhere with all those pins in here. Okay, so now for the last thing that I want to show you while preparing these miniatures here is how to put a base onto a plinth like this here. So again, this is really not rocket science. We need to have a bigger pin though. So I will drill a little hole in here first, actually a small hole which has like a 1 mm diameter. And after that we will expand that hole using a little bit bigger drill. And yeah, so let's get right to it. We need our power tool again. And keep an eye on the angle that you drill the hole in. And make it quite deep also. Same here for the lower side of the bust. And be careful not to breathe that in, because there's resin dust and that's very toxic. Okay, once we have done the smaller hole, we will switch the drill bit, and we will now use a bigger drill bit and use the hole that we have put in there as a guide for this drill here. That's I think 2.5 mm drill bit. Okay. Smells really nicely. And the same for the bust. Smells a little less nicely, and you will end up covered with dust. Alright, so these 2 holes are done. Now we will take a rod like this one here, and this is now the time has come to use this one here. That's a really heavy duty like clipper. It's called Bolzenschneider in German. So with this you can really cut some serious some serious pins and wires. So yeah, we will put in this rod here into the one hole, yeah, like that. And now we will see how high we want to have this bust. So I guess around that height here is good. So it will be visible a little bit here, and then we need to cut it somewhere right here. Okay, let's see how this works. Nice, it works quite well. Okay, and we put this in here Oh, it's already quite a tight fit. Okay, but maybe a little bit high. But if you think that something is a little bit too high, you can still remove that and clip it again. Yeah, but this is how our rat now looks after all the pinning. Everything is really safely in place. One more thing that I would like to show you is how you can reposition parts, like for example this foot, really quickly without having to cut and glue everything together. So for this we will need these kinds of pliers here. They have round tips, and with these round tips they you can apply some really precise force without flattening too many details. But still, if we would just go here and just like bend these down, there would be marks. So that's why we again use a paper towel, and we use this to pat this foot here a little bit. Yeah, like that. And now we take the pliers, and now we can reposition the part without damaging the detail too much. So it's actually pretty tough. Ah yeah, here, like that. Oops, there it goes. See, now it's pointing downwards. And this was necessary, for example, with bases like that, you can see that it slopes down, and you want to have a more natural position of the leg. So yeah, the miniature doesn't look awkward when it's standing on a plateau like that, and then the foot is going other way around. So yeah, this is how the whole thing looks now. Oops. So our little Skaven here stands on a rock like that, for example. The Kingdom Death miniature and the bust with the pin. That's still a little bit too high, but that's all right. Okay, now I would like to show you two more things. The way I organize my my tools near my desk, it looks like that. I hope you're not doesn't surprise you too much, but actually it's more practical than it looks like. This is like a makeup box from Muji, I think, or which is like a furniture shop from Japan. But it is really useful to just store all of these tools that I have. You know, all the clippers, they go here sideways. You can just like put them in like that. Also the files are here. My knife can also just go right in here. So it's very, very useful to have a little storage container nearby when you build and prepare miniatures to be painted. So yeah, I think I showed you the most important tools, the files. I showed you the knife, the hand drills. Yeah, I have a lot of tweezers in here, very, very precise ones, some not so precise ones, some tweezers that can grip things. I also have these old teeth brushes here. Toothbrushes. These are really great to really quickly clean stuff, but also to apply some fine texture, for example, for rocks. So yeah, don't throw your toothbrushes away too quickly when you have them around. You can also store droppers that I use a lot for airbrushing, for example. Different types of brushes like these here too. I mainly use them to just dust miniatures off quickly, but you can also use it for different textures. Yeah, I have also one brush that I use exclusively with alcohol, another one that I use to apply some oil onto surfaces. Sometimes that's important. Actually, for example, for molding, for making parts. And yeah, everything is really easily in reach. And in addition to this, we also have a little container for our power tool bits. One of the most useful bits is actually this circular saw or plate that is coated with industrial diamonds. With this, you can cut really easily through a lot of a lot of things, not so much plastic because it will melt, but to metal, to wood. If you have something to also to remove the clipping from, you can use that. For example, the rod that we have been clipping, if I need a perfectly smooth surface, I would just use this circular saw thing here with my power tool. But then also these little points here that, you know, these little ball points. I even have some that are like ridiculously small. I just got them from my dentist actually. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's these are like extremely small. I don't know, I think it's not focusing, but yeah, now it is. So these are super small. So with these you can drill perfectly fine little holes in everything. So yeah, try to be nice to your dentist, and you might get 1 or 2 of these. Yeah, so this is all that I use. One more thing about glue. Also, it is important to use the right glue for the right application. This is the wood glue, and this is how I store it usually. I use Ponal Express from Henkel, which is very fast curing wood glue. It's a PVA glue, just standard white stuff, so to say. But I have one as it comes from the store, and I have one where you can see I've written thin all over, because this is really thin. So I can use that for bases when I have to cover something really quickly with a very thin layer of super glue. I have it already mixed in here. So yeah, it's a little bit similar to the thick super glue and the thin super glue. It's really good to have something prepared. There are also wood glues that are resistant to water once they dry. And yeah, all kinds of different applications, but I mostly use the one from Henkel. It's a really good quality. Then also I have a lot of these sticks always around when I build stuff. These are just like coffee stirring sticks. I used to harvest them at the local subways, I think, but you can get them actually online. So I think 1,000 pieces of these cost like $5 or something. Very recommendable to get them. And also the gloves that I use. These are silicone latex free gloves, nitrile I think gloves, without powder. You just put them on, and it's important to have actually nitrile or butyl gloves, because to the standard latex and silicone gloves, there are some things in that we use for the miniature art that actually go through these gloves, and then they cause you harm. So yeah, make sure you have the nitrile or the butyl gloves. They can also obviously be in a different color. Doesn't have to be black. I just use it so you don't have too many white artifacts from the very strong light that I have here. Okay, oh yeah, about the knife also, besides my small hobby knife here, I also have a very sturdy knife, which is more thicker. It's like a carpet cutting knife, and sometimes I need to cut something that is thick. But again, like, be very careful when you use knives like that. Don't apply too much pressure, otherwise this here will snap on the on the perforated place, and then this comes flying out around. So you will hurt yourself like I did recently. But yeah, these here are very practical. You can snap them off, and yeah, have a very sharp knife every time you need to have that. Beside of these knives, it's also useful to have metal rulers for certain applications. I have mine here. I have a smaller ruler like this one here, and I have a really big ruler as well. This one here, it's a little bit nasty now, but you just need to cut, for example, cork sometimes. So rulers like that are really handy. And obviously the cutting mat, it's very useful, especially one that seals itself when you cut it. So yeah, the wonders of technology nowadays allow for that. Okay, I hope that yeah, that this was useful to you. It's the first part of the very basic techniques, so to say, that I thought it would be good to show to you because you might not know about something. I hope it could tell you something new as well. So yeah, please leave a like if you liked this presentation, and please consider to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this in the near future. If you are really awesome, you can also check out my Patreon account. There you will also see a lot of bases in the making, for example the Kingdom Death bases that you've seen in this video. You will see step by step how to build these completely using materials that are not too complicated to get, and yeah, just painting them also. So please consider that.